Hi, this is Kristen Nyko. I'm trying to figure out where exactly I need to look. Oh, there it is. Okay. This is Kristen Nyko for IST663, and I am presenting my lesson because I'm having some problems with Adobe Connect. My lesson is all about, for a 8th grade social studies class. I do work in a middle school, so I have a class kind of in mind where I would theoretically teach this. And basically, the lesson title is America Between Wars, the Growth of Leisure Time. The idea is that the period between the Civil War and World War I, Americans experienced really the first time that they had leisure time and leisure activities. Some of these things, which have actually been cataloged. There's a video collection at the Library of Congress that I found that I was very excited to find. So that is really what I was basing this lesson off of. Kind of without further ado, let me kind of go into classroom mode, where I would be in the classroom. The smartboard would be on, and I would have up a couple different question points that be written on the smartboard or off to the side on one of the whiteboards. The class would come in. I would introduce myself. This is my first year at the school, so while some of the students know me, not everybody does, so I like to reintroduce myself as Mrs. Nyko, the librarian, and kind of that's how that would go. There would be handouts for the students with the URL, with the link to the Library of Congress site for them to use and the specific collection that we would be using. There would, again, there's the graphic organizer. All of these are going to be attached in terms of me putting them up into Blackboard for whoever is going to be watching this and assessing me. This does also, because it is going to be a written assignment, it does work with the Common Core, the WHST 8.1 standard, and the Information Fluency Continuum IFC standard and IFC3 standards. So anyway, the Library of Congress collection that we're going to be focusing on is America at Work, America at Leisure, Motion Pictures from 1894 to 1915, which again is really the period at the turn of the century after the Civil War was over. American expansion was still happening. America was becoming a world power, and the Library of Congress has these from, not because somebody from the Library of Congress was recording them at that time, but because there was somebody who was recording these and saving them. And the Library of Congress is very lucky to have them, and that they are in such great condition that they can actually be digitized for us to use in a classroom so that we can have a better understanding of what it was like for people who were living 100 years ago. At the turn of the last century, here we are now 100 years later with a different set of, while we're all still Americans, things are different. And what we want to do is take a look at these videos, kind of compare and contrast to how things were then to how they are now, compare some of the leisure activities to that were done then, compare them to the activities that we have now, try to figure out why these were popular activities, whether or not they were new, help them to figure out whether or not if there were requirements around sort of the industrialization that made these possible. Things like improved transportation, did that make it possible? Were there just different things that came along? So for example, one of the videos, and the video that I would show is one about people roller skating. And people couldn't really roller skate on a farm out in the pasture or out in green fields. Wheels don't work, small roller skate wheels don't work well there. So you got to keep that in mind. And that it was really, that this was something that would work for people who lived near sidewalks or roads, and that these were all developments that were happening at that time, sort of as America changed from being very, very rural to more of an urban suburban thing, where in really more of an urban environment, these roller skates were manufactured in factories. They were not individually carved, or there wasn't somebody working, a ceramicist who was making these. No, there was metal, there was manufacturing. People worked in a roller skate factory and made roller skates, and that's how these came to the market and people got to enjoy them. So again, going back to sort of the videos that are on there, I want everybody to choose a video to watch. You can watch many of them. Every student in the class has an iPad. It is a one-to-one school, so everybody has the ability to fire up their iPads, go to that website, which is specified on the whiteboard, and to see what that looks like and make that work. So that's pretty much what I would explain. And then make sure that I would walk around the room, make sure that everybody was able to get there, answer any questions that they had, and sort of getting to it. Then sort of once I could tell the majority of students were all set with that, I would be moving to the graphic organizer that I've provided. Was sort of a go ahead and fill this out, answer as many questions as you can, let me know if you have questions. We'll kind of work through it. And then from there, your assignment is going to be about writing an essay. So that's sort of day one, is finding the video, filling out the graphic organizer. And then the second day in class would actually be the writing of the essay in class, which could either be done as homework or, but with the expectation that the essay be turned in at the end of day two in the classroom. So this assignment is really about taking things that we find and putting them in context, both in time of where they were and our involvement with them as a person from another time 100 years later, and finding commonality and sort of the understanding that things are different, but in a lot of ways people are still the same. Okay? Thank you.